Hi everyone, good morning on this auspicious day of 12/12/12. Very different. Just a bit about me before I start so you can see as to why I hopefully speak with some authority here this morning. My history is as a senior executive in one of the four major training banks in Australia. Now, many years ago you might have said, well, what does that mean? I think we were lucky to have one bank in the top 50 banks of the world. Things have changed over the last 20 years to a great extent. To give you some idea of the strength in the Australian banking industry, each of the four banks now manages through their balance sheets at approximately $1 to $1.5 trillion. That's pretty big money in today's speak. And most of them have equity positions of around about $50 billion, with net profits ranging from about $6 to $10 billion per annum. And this has grown enormously over the last 15 to 20 years. And to give you some idea of a comparison of what this means, perhaps to the area over here, Australia's population is some 22 million people at the moment. The German population is 81 million. And if you take the total of Europe, you've got 733 million people. So there's a huge differentiation there, and Australia is still a relatively small country population-wise. It's a big country in resources, but still small in population. But the market capitalisation of one of those four banks in Australia is now greater than the total market capitalisation of all banks in Germany. And if you take the market capitalisation of the total four banks in Australia at this point in time, it's bigger than the market capitalisation of every bank together in Europe. So, in perspective, we've done a pretty good job over there in our banking system, unlike many other places in the world. I'd rather talk about it in the perception of what are the risks for bank in not participating in the Uglii coalition. Because banks are ideal partners in what you've been hearing about in the last day or so on Uglii and what it can do for the economy. And bearing in mind banking is all about managing risk, why would a bank not understand the risks of not being in the Uglii coalition? You would hope they would, because that's what they do. Banking is all about managing risks. Banks do no more than most other businesses in the world. They buy and they sell money. But some banks have managed their risk pretty badly. I mean, the whole position that we are in at the moment in the global financial crisis has been caused by bad management of risk by banks. Predominantly started in America and has dribbled through to other areas of the world. They decided that they weren't making enough profit from the good profits available from managing that risk between buying and selling money, so they decided they'd do some other things. They create their own markets. They get into different things like derivatives, etc. Anybody that can set up and start lending money to developers to build new towns and then lend money to buy houses in those towns who can't afford it, the people who can't afford it, and then when they can't afford it, what do? They give them credit cards to make payments on their housing loans, and they wonder why things go wrong. I mean, this is where it started, and it just dribbled down, and bad practices came out in bank after bank around the world. We didn't have that trouble in Australia. We didn't have to be bailed out by the government. The banks in there were in a sound position. So we were lucky. But any element of this, as what happened and started off in the States, affected everybody in the world. Because once that money cycle dries up and people can't buy money, your ratings go down, it becomes harder and harder to fund the financing that you do for other people, to be able to lend money to people. So that's just a bit of banking background from that point of view. Having said that, all banks are the same. They don't do much different, really, anywhere around the world. Now, banks have three core values that they talk about, and they talk about them being equal. That's their customers, their staff, and their shareholders. Now, the ideal situation is that you treat them all the same. Now, that's what the banks will tell you, and of course we believe what all the banks tell us. But I think sometimes, the last one I mentioned, the shareholders maybe get a bit more priority at times, and other times when there's a bit of a pressure on, maybe customers get a bit more to do. But Uglii will provide an ability for each one of those three value bases of the banks to do better business. So let's talk about them. Customer differentiation. What the banks, I believe, will do in joining with the Uglii Coalition is going to be so powerful for their customer relationship that will differentiate them from any other bank within that environment. We are going to give every one of the bank's customers the right of global discovery for free. Banks do not do anything for free, ever. Everybody complains, fees are too high, rates are too high. But here is a situation when we can deliver the Uglii marketplace system and the spatial discovery to every customer out there for free. They can then choose their level of participation. It's not necessarily up to the bank to go through every single product that the Uglii has to offer. That will happen through the Uglii processes. But there is a chance to introduce them to the system and be able to make that choice for themselves. So they can talk about what they might do. Now, this gives them something for free, but not only something for free, it will reduce their costs. Customer costs will come down. Customers spend, or people out there in business spend a hell of a lot of money these days, whether it be by advertising, getting onto listings, yellow pages and all these sort of things. If they want to get on and be discovered on the internet, they can go through a Google system, they can get on the right-hand side, they can spend big money for that. They will now not necessarily have to do all those things at all, or in different levels and different proportions, but they will save money because Uglii will provide all that for them in an adequate system, and it does it basically for free. They can then choose as to what level they want to participate in. Not only does it do that for the bank's own customers, which is automatic, because you can always talk to your own customers, it will give the bank an opportunity, and whether it be here in Slovenia or whether it be in Australia, where I know the market a lot better, it gives a particular bank, being a national partner in their environment, the opportunity to go to other bank customers and offer them a free service. Now, in the past, I used to send my teams of people out there, and I've been one of those teams of people in years gone by, and always your target was, how am I going to increase my market share? How am I going to get new business customers? How can I get more business on my books? And the only way you could do it was perhaps you'd hear a rumour that someone was having trouble with their bank, or you might get introduced to someone, and you would try and convince them that you had better products, that you might be able to give them a better interest rate, and your service or relationship was better. But as I said previously, basically all banks are the same. But what you have now, you have an Uglii service that you can market out there that the other banks and other competitors won't have. So therefore, you've got an opportunity and a real leverage to go to other bank customers and get them on board through the system. Now, how you do that, they will need to work out a marketing strategy. I could think of many ways to do it, but it gives them the opportunity to do that. And that's a pretty powerful tool for any bank to have. Because they can't be, the other bank can't say, I want to now be a national partner for Uglii. It's too late. The first bank it's in has done it. They're there. They've got it. No one else can do it. And not only that, that once the bank is involved with the Uglii marketplace system through its control panel, and we talked about the control panel yesterday, it is then able to market its products and services through that control panel to everybody that it has signed up into the Uglii system. So consequently, it can keep telling its own customers what's new and what's available, but you can tell the other bank customers that signed up about your own products. So it gives you a free rein to go out and do some advertising. And not only that, that advertising space within that control panel is tradable. So again, it is powerful. Okay, let's talk about the staff differentiation. Staff these days within banks have a level of frustration. Most staff within banks have KPIs which say to them, you must cross-sell. What can you cross-sell? You can cross-sell your own products. You can tell everybody that they want a credit card. And they come up to the counter, or when you have a relationship with them, you can say, I think you need this product. I think you need travel insurance. You need this, you need that. Banks are into every form of product there is. And banks and staff get rewarded for those levels of cross-selling. Now, they have a product that they can go out there and they can sell. Well, they're not going to sell it. They're going to give it away. I shouldn't say sell it, because they're going to give it away. However, the bank can give some level of recognition, financially or whatever it might be, to that staff member for signing up people on Uglii. That's a pretty good opportunity. Staff haven't had that before. It's always been the pressure of sell, 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 cross-sell, cross-sell. Now it's going to be, here is a product you give to a customer, here are the benefits for it. However, it's for free. I think the staff are going to love this. It's the first time they've been able to go out and do these sort of things. And the bank could pay the staff to do this through the commissions and revenue generation they get. Shareholder differentiation. What's in it for shareholders? There's got to be something in it for shareholders, because they're the ones that drive the business. If you don't have shareholders and you don't have people investing in your business, you're in big trouble. A bank, the bank, has signed up as a national partner. It is, and as John has showed you this morning, there is a hell of a lot of revenue incrementally and exponentially that will come back to the bank. That gives you a significant and enduring revenue. It doesn't disappear, it will keep coming year after year. So that comes back to net profitability within the organisation. It comes back to more profit, more dividends for the shareholders, and then that exponentially means, okay, this bank has got more things to offer than the other banks have got, so it also attracts other shareholders, and other shareholders come in and start bidding for the price, and the shareholding price goes up. So there's a lot in it for shareholders from the bank's point of view. And to be seen to be doing this in a national economy has a huge impact on the political advantage and government support for the particular bank. Governments like bank bashing. If anything goes wrong, it's always the bank's fault. Interest rates go up, it's not the government's mismanagement of the economy, it's the bank's fault for putting the interest rates up. Everybody loves bank bashing, that's what it's all about. So, we can do something about that. So, there are the three key areas that I think there's an advantage. So we come back, the haves and haves not. I think I've explained what it can be if you have it. If you have it, it's a huge, powerful tool for you to be able to use to get more customers, to increase the power of your staff, to increase the shareholder value. But you've got to be in early. If you're not in early in this, you're going to get competition from another bank that may take on a national partnership, because if you don't put your hand up, someone else is going to. So the real issue is that we've got to get to the bank to be first, or a bank to be first as the national partner, as a global partner, and to start pulling people in to distribute this system through their own branches, all their touch points, etc., or maybe through some affiliate associations they might have, such as industry associations and the like. Because the competition is not going to also come from the other banks. You're going to have the other postal systems and telcos out there who might like a bit of this action too. So the sooner the bank gets in and touches all its customers, the better it's going to be. Because if they don't, someone else is going to be. So you've got to get in and you've got to get first. You've got to be a leader. You've got to take the steps. And leadership is all about getting in there and getting close to the action. You know, and I think to me, there's a good picture I always have in my mind of getting in early and getting there and taking advantage. And if you sit around and you think about, and I'm sure you've all seen TV pictures of this, and it's a very powerful image if you've seen it live. If you're on the banks of the Mara River in the Masai Mara in South Africa, and you suddenly see 20,000 zebra and wildebeest come up, and they've got to cross this river to get to the other side, because that's where the good lands are to have new feed, fresh feed, nice tasty feed. And they all get on there, and there's this raging river in front of them, and waiting downstream about another 500 yards is a great load of crocodiles. Something's got to happen. But this group suddenly decides that some of them are going to do something. And who is it? It's the leaders. Again, it's not by panic, it's by design, and it's been proven it's by decision. That those leaders decide, I have a much better chance of swimming this river and swimming it first and getting through to the other side if I don't go through with the mass. Because if I go through with the mass, everybody's trying to do the same thing, and I'm going to get pushed, and I'm going to get kicked, and I'm going to probably drown or end up down there. So the leaders decide to go. And there's probably about 100 leaders who go out there and they spread out and they go across the river. They've got plenty of room around them to swim. They get across to the other side. They climb up the bank, because there's not everybody trying to climb up the bank. The bank's not greasy. And they get out and they get on their way. What happens to the rest? The mob stand there until they decide, I'm going to get pushed in or whatever it is, and then they all go together. Now, the crocodiles haven't worried about the leaders that have gone across, because they know there's plenty of feed coming up. So the mob then go, and they get, well, the mind boggles as to what then happens. Still, the majority make it, but they're tired, they get there, they recover, some don't manage it, some get picked off on the way. But the others that have led and have got out there have got to the new grasses, the greener grasses, they get the pick of the crop. First in, and the first banks that are into this are going to be the people that are out there tasting the new pastures and get the pick of the crop. And that's what it's all about. You've got to get out there and do it first. You can't be part of the mob that's left behind.